All right, thanks.
I don't know.
All right, good night, good evening, Littleton. This is Tuesday, January 20th, I hope. Charter Committee, I know, and welcome. Tonight we're going to continue our charter work. Several different things on the list. Let's just start with, I was going to ask for survey responses. Can you give us an update from the,
Sure, what would you like to know?
just how many do we get, and was there anything particular in them, or?
Yeah, we got 7 responses.
And this was from our item that was in the town newsletter.
Yeah, so the first question was, what do you see as the main advantages or disadvantages of electing versus appointing town officials? Seems like the overall general sentiment is that if we have elections, it better serves the town because it's a better representation of what the citizens want. But there were some responses that acknowledge that some positions should be appointed that require expertise. And then the second question, well, we got 6 responses, oddly. So,
Okay.
are there specific positions in Littleton that you think should be reconsidered? We got a couple responses that say the finance committee should be elected.
Oh. Okay, interesting.
One said planning board, board of health. Board of health is mentioned 3 times in the responses.
And they are.
3 members of the Board of Health.
Stating,
But they're all, right now, they're all elected.
Now, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
3
Oh, I
responses.
said that's a response, I gotcha.
The question is, are there specific positions in Littleton that you think should be reconsidered? Like, so assuming if the position is currently
elected,
elected,
they're saying
should
appointed.
it be appointed?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Board of Health, Planning Board, Finance Committee, Cemetery Commission, Parks and Rec. So
Okay,
I've sent the responses to everyone on the.
okay,
Charter
all right,
Committee.
great. Thank you. All right, my next item I want to talk about was, let's talk about the public input session. Can I put you on the spot here, Karen, for that?
Yeah, let me just open it up so I can refresh my memory here.
I should have prepped you for that one, sorry.
Nope, that's okay. Where is it? Winter. So we have 3 hours booked.
Yes.
Which I didn't request.
Right.
All right, the host keeps ending the meeting here.
I mean, if we just, in general, if you do an open house, that kind of makes sense, because it gives people a big window to come.
So I
It's just
figured
that
if there's 3
it's
hours,
probably gonna, we don't all have to be here that whole time, but.
yeah, and you don't have to
probably
have like a
won't be that
formal presentation.
No, right. But I mean, what do people think? I think the idea of the open house is kind of a good idea, especially on a Saturday.
Yeah, like a drop-in, you're going to the dump.
You
You
should
can
have some
stop
elevator
by
pitch
and-
things. Like I said, you talked about different tables with different topics and have
Yeah, I
some
was trying to think of how to make it
in here. It's a little bit
interactive
off,
and not
yeah.
feel like awkward or formal
Right.
when you come in.
Mhm.
You know, we could like push the chairs to the side and maybe have like a little, we can put the snacks right there.
Yeah,
you know.
But you could then have some stations that talk about
Yeah,
a couple of
just
things,
something
the
to-
hot pocket.
To prompt
People
people.
to talk, yeah, and ask, okay.
And then I was thinking maybe we could do like mini surveys or like
Mhm.
a suggestion box that they could fill out
people are
after.
comfortable
I mean,
doing, right.
I'm kind of just
Yeah,
throwing stuff out there. We can use the whiteboard, do like a real-time survey. You know, people can check things off.
yeah.
So I don't know what people think or.
I think it's a good idea, but what do you all think? I think it's a good way to do it.
Hey,
Especially, like I said, on a Saturday, people can come in when it works for them and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we can all, like you said, take a shift or
Mhm.
whatever, and
Yeah.
we'll find ways to fill 3 hours.
work session.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, post it so we can talk.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly,
Seriously.
that's a good point. Yeah, well, we'll definitely need to post it anyway, yeah, for sure.
Yes, yep, and
Okay.
then I drafted a flyer, which I can start to get out if people are happy with it, and one thing I need to do is cancel the library. I keep
Yes.
forgetting to do
Yeah,
that.
we'll do that, yeah.
I have it in my calendar.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I have to
yeah.
call them.
Yeah.
But we'll do it here and just see who comes by. I think somebody said there's not a big turnout on Saturdays, but
Right. Yep.
we're just mixing it up.
Mm-hmm.
The only comment that I'd say about the flyer is, do we think we're going to be getting it to select board such that we're thinking this is going to be, when is it going to be actionable at town meeting? And do we want to start to telegraph what we're leading up to is that
Well, that's a good thing to have on there. What's the
proposed
agenda?
date so that they can focus and have awareness of this is an opportunity and something bigger is coming. That's the only,
That's a good thing to have on there, so we talk about fall town meeting and then the process for the state and all that stuff, so people understand this is, none of this is
oh yeah, it's
fast.
not happening, but
Right,
once it were to leave town meeting, then
Yep.
their participation opportunity is gone.
Right.
It's already happened, so I'm just trying to point to their
So
participation opportunity.
maybe instead of where it says learn what learn what a town charter does, we could say something like town charter gets presented.
Prepare
at-
for X town meeting
Oh,
or something
that's a
like,
good
you
one.
know, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think both, I think you
direction.
also want to have in there, learn what it does, because,
Yeah,
Oh.
and prepare for
yeah,
town meeting
yep,
or something.
vote.
Can't
Mhm.
type either.
In the fall.
We want to say fall, right?
Yeah.
Town meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you take that wood out of that while you're, I think you're the last ones coming in, and you froze last time, thank you. Sorry for people on TV for that one, but, yes,
Do you have anybody?
yes,
We do. Oh,
Me,
tonight?
I'm joining the
and
Zoom.
Joe may,
Why did they not?
No, you're good. Joe's
no, 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 yeah, Joe's sick, so he's gonna try to join via Zoom if he's up to it. He sit next to me.
All right, so people are generally,
Yeah, so we were just
Happy enough.
quickly talking about the proposal to do the next public session as a town meeting, open, as kind of a town meeting, or, open house, sorry, not a town meeting, an open house.
With town meeting.
Yeah, right.
Surprise.
Jeez, what's wrong?
That'd be fun.
I bring- Yeah, so, yeah, just so people, it's also on a Saturday, so people can come and go at their, as their schedules allow and so on. I'm gonna get a coffee and a donut and chat a little bit. All right, give it a try, see what happens.
all right, so we're kind of good with that flyer.
I'm good. You wanna go with it?
All right.
On board?
I'm sorry, one just quick thing. I think you mentioned the next newsletter, but if it's February,
Yeah, I was, because you
28th.
said mid-month, so I figured I missed.
so I think we might have missed, oh no, mid-month, like January 15th for the February newsletter.
Oh. Maybe I can
I
beg.
think if you ask, we may be able to quickly squish a flyer in there, like a small blurb or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, because I think I found your document, they added something at the bottom of your,
Yes,
Town charter
yes, it is
recap.
in there for the submission for the blurb, but if you're in a separate flyer, it would have to go in now for the, I don't know if it's already gone to the press or whatever.
Yeah.
okay, all right, I will
And then-
do that tonight.
Was there a survey to go with that as also then, this time?
Yes, so
Okay,
as soon
that's
as the newsletter is published, the survey can be updated.
Are you using the same link?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if we can do that.
Betsy,
I'll-
Yes.
are you
I'll see what I
expecting
can
anybody
do,
else
but I
using?
don't think. we
Maybe
can
Joe,
use the
if he's
same-
not,
Joe's-
he
Joe's
said
in.
no, nobody else that I know of.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, there he is.
Hi, Joe.
Because I can also change the link.
Okay. Because it keeps, each survey has its own database of
Oh, the unique
responses.
responses, yeah, yeah.
And so I don't know how that would work. But we can fix it.
Okay. I can,
Thank you.
we can chat after and I can send the updated QR code if needed.
I just wanted to quickly mention that the email that I sent late today about the came from Collins. So the first part of that, a lot of you don't know what that came from. So there was a request or a discussion, one of the select board members was suggesting is there a way to make it so that for writing candidates, there's a minimum number of votes that they have to get? So I asked the consultants to go check it out, and so that, they kind of did it in a broader sense, because we were really just looking at for writing candidates in terms of having kind of a minimum number, or make it 50, the same as it, because I guess some people just purposely don't bother to pull papers, and then they just do the write-in instead, and so trying to get around that. But I think the answer is pretty much, it's messy, and you probably don't want to go down that route, but that's what that was about, just so you all know. And then the second part had to do with the appointments, and we can talk about that later if you want. We don't need to talk about it now, but I did want to explain the first part, where that came from. Okay, that knocks that one off my list.
So back on the
Yes,
open house
yes.
thing.
Mhm.
So content-wise, if I just print couple of postery type things, is that?
We're in here, you mean, for when we're here?
Yeah. Is that
Yeah, I
fine?
think so, like you said, we can, whoever get together and
Yeah.
talk about it, but I think your idea of having a couple of topics, what is a charter, and we'll talk about the timeline to town meeting and what happens, the whole process, and then some of the big rocks that we talked about in terms of town manager and
Yeah.
some appointed versus elected kind of positions and things like that, and the fact that, employees work for people in the town, not for part-time boards,
Yeah.
just to bring those things,
All right,
because those,
so
I think
I'll
those are the highlights, I
Draft a
think.
couple of those and then
Yeah.
we can nail that down next
Yeah.
time. Okay,
I
thank
mean,
you.
it could all, it could also be on one sheet here, just discussion points, so when people walk
Yeah,
in, if you,
true.
this is what's going on, then they can start asking questions.
Okay.
However,
If you want, I can take the 2 newsletter info blurbs. So we've got the one that's going in on town manager and administrator, and we've got the elected versus appointed, and sort of reformat those. They're a little bit more of a handout.
Yeah, that'd be cool,
Print-
like
print
the
them out.
myth thing.
yeah, that's a good way to do it, the
it.
myth is a good.
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah, and we could just literally take that exact same
Yeah.
information and just make sure that it's like accessible.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's good, and some of those things people can take with them too, and
Right,
share with their neighbors and whatever they choose to do.
And we did do the July newsletter as well, which was the kind of what are we doing, what is a charter? So we've got 3 of them that I
Okay.
think are already like ready to go.
all right, sounds good, thank you.
You can recreate the wheel, it's already there.
Yep.
Karen, could you remind me of the date for this open house?
It is February 28th, Saturday.
Thank you.
From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Light refreshments are provided.
Here in 103. Okay. That's that one. All right, let's get the minutes out of the way if we could. We got the minutes, and anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of, what date was it, January
5th.
5th? Yeah.
Second.
Second, all right, second by Alan. Any discussion? Any changes, updates to it? All right, very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, Joe, how about you?
Aye.
You approve the minutes? Oh, that was an aye, okay, great. Okay, so, thank you. That one, all right, so now the document. So, I'm going to cue that up there, Karen.
Yep.
So, our new subcommittee has met twice for a couple hours each to go through the details of the document and just really rip through it. If you've had a chance to look at it, there's some things that look very different already. And we have a lot more work to do on it. But I think it's been very productive. I'll let other people speak.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to go through it. You can see everything that we changed. A lot of it's just grammar and punctuation and things like that, and formatting. You're welcome to comment on anything. And then I highlighted a few, although I guess it didn't come through on mine either. In my, I just have it, I finally got a new laptop, so I'm on Windows 11, so I have a case where I can put on the comments, I can put a up thumb. And so I did that, I think I want, but I guess most people don't have that yet. So, so you couldn't see it anyway.
I didn't get that either. But in terms of,
Yeah.
one of the first things I noticed on page 5, the draft charter,
Yep,
in the first sentence under section
Yep.
1.1,
yep.
it says corporate limits as established by dash law. And that occurs several places in here
It should
where
be
it means by law, not
by.
by dash
It
law.
should be by law, basically is what it means, yeah. All right, that's good.
Good catch.
We saw some of those, but yeah, good chance. And this is exactly the stuff we're trying to catch, that and content, some of it, but yeah. So thank you for that.
So that's probably general laws. You know how we've got that defined? So might as well just use the general laws that we've defined, and I know the subcommittees discussed
You can use
that.
that.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, well, we have to see, because that's different. Yeah, we have to determine, is this by law, by general law, or is this by our bylaws?
I wonder if it was a find replace thing where someone put in anytime you see by law, put a dash, and it by mistake put it
That
into.
that was not my point.
Okay,
It's not by bylaw.
okay,
By.
Established by law, meaning general laws, not bylaws.
okay.
So you gotta take the dash out of
All
there.
right, so in that case, it is, that's what you think, it happened to the town, or the corporate land established. Okay. All right, we'll check that out, because that's what Tim said too. All right,
And that
So that one's
happens
by
in
general.
several instances in there.
okay.
Yeah, it might be a find replace issue.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Section 2-4, time of meeting.
Hang on, I just
Did
want
we
to.
want to go through anything else before we get to 2.4? I'm just seeing a bunch of.
Yeah, I do,
Red lines.
hang on, general law versus bylaw. Okay, so let's just, yeah, start from the beginning and go down, so what else after that one? Other things? Anybody have that they want to discuss?
2-4,
2-4?
yep.
Also, I should say, there are a couple of, there are typos in here. It's hard when, when you're doing the mark out stuff, and sometimes you lose spacing and so on because you can't
Yeah.
see it, so
Yeah.
we'll catch all that later, just so you know, that's my fault.
I saw
Okay,
those,
all right.
but my question on that is,
2-4, time of
general
meeting.
laws call for annual meeting,
Yeah,
and we don't talk about annual meeting there at all.
yeah, well, this came up after this, so this is, we'll go back, the subcommittee will talk about this again too, but that's a good point, because there are some things in here that are particular to the annual meeting, especially when you get into the finance stuff, some of the things that have to happen. Well, they presented at the spring annual meeting. We may have a fall annual meeting, but they're not going to present that at the fall annual meeting. So we need to start specifying in some of these spring annual meeting versus fall annual meeting, if we're going to say that, rather than just saying spring or fall. So you're right. That's what you're saying, is because we've said before that we're going to, yeah, we should say it that way. Bottom line.
You've got to use the
Spring annual.
phrase annual meeting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's what the general laws call for.
Okay. You got other things? Anybody else? I don't know if people went through it and just kind of, you didn't have to, but you can also, if you look at the comments, some of those I highlighted specifically saying for committee, like here's one. Well, this was still a grammatical thing, but we went through and first we said, well, if it's not in our definitions, we're not going to capitalize it. So then select board didn't get capitalized, but then you read through it, it kind of feels like select board should be capitalized. So I don't know, do people have a strong feeling one way or another and stuff like that? I know Joe was saying he thought it should be, but.
I think it's a
always
proper
think it
noun.
should be capitalized.
Yeah, it
but-
should be
In
capitalized,
this
right?
case, it's a proper noun, I
Yeah,
would say,
okay.
yeah.
But I think that when it's reviewed by town council, it'll be capitalized.
Lawyers capitalize everything.
Okay, it could be. I mean, when we look at these
Just
other
use all
charters,
caps.
some do,
Yeah.
some don't,
Entire
but yeah,
I
okay.
think so.
All right, so that was one of the comments, just to kind of get a feel. Everybody have a strong feeling one way or the other on it. Okay, so then this next one is, we had put in this clause about canceling fall town meeting. We have a big discussion about it last time. I was under the impression that we'd agreed that we were just going to take that clause out and not talk about canceling town meeting, but there were a couple other people said they didn't think we decided that yet. So we need to have that conversation. So we didn't have it there, and then I found this clause from another town. I thought, well, that might be good, because if you ever had the case, for whatever reason, you wanted to cancel, but then it gets messy, because I think some of the exceptions they put in here is because they're concerned that a select board might cancel a fall town meeting because they don't want to deal with citizens petitions. And that's obviously not the intention.
Do you have
So,
in the notes, it says decide later.
yeah. So,
Probably in a lot of years.
but
What
I,
section are you on?
2-4,
Oh, we're still
2-4.
on 2.4, okay.
We're on 2-4. So it's this marked out clause in here, it's marked out in this. But I just want to make sure everybody else was that we were on board, or if somebody wants to say, no, I think it should stay in.
I
mean,
thought
the
we
other-
said if there's at least one citizen petition, the meeting will be held. So however you want to word that.
We can do that too.
So I think we did say that, and I think it was
Yeah.
on that basis that we said,
Oh.
just kill it.
Okay.
I thought we had good discussion of it, I thought we were right close on the edge. I thought we were left with, everybody think about it, the conversation that we had, come back to this meeting.
Definitely.
I'm still strongly in favor of, don't touch it. Way too detailed for charter.
Yeah, I'm in agreement to just omit that section.
Okay, we good?
I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, no,
I'm-
yep.
Okay, all right, that's
Just
gone
commit
then.
to the two meetings.
Very good. All right. So there was, I mean, this is the kind of stuff we found under 2.5, the notice for town meeting. This is in the town meeting section, this is all town meeting. We said A, notice being given, and B shall be, and then C is all about elections, it's not town meeting. So we just made a comment there, we're gonna move that, and there's a town meeting section later in it, so. So just so you know, we're moving that out. Let's see, what was this one? I think we just. This is this whole thing by ballot we just got rid of. Consult thought it meant something different. That heading there. These are not the big stuff here. You have other things, Alan? We just not there yet? We're going through it?
I had
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not, because I'm kind of going through my notes here
Yeah,
that I print off
don't-
to see.
My printout doesn't have my notes on there, so.
Okay. All right, so we still have in 3.4E, we still have a comment about, we still have the discussion about adding what we want to do with other appointments. And that was the other part of that Collins letter today. So we don't, probably not ready to go after that tonight, but that still is noted in here, that we still need to figure out what we want to do with that. We want to put something probably somewhere, it's just a matter of where and how much detail we want to put in. And they're recommending not a lot, which is probably, I'm sure the right thing, because a lot of those are not permanent, but.
The Collins memo is pretty
Yeah.
easy.
But nothing is in here now, and I don't think that's right either,
No,
so,
I think we need something.
yeah. Especially for the ones that are moving, but even any of them, because some of them are very permanent, they're gonna be here forever, so there's no reason to, I don't think, not mention them.
The list of the ones.
That was, we were all very pleased at that memo that we got from them. We haven't gotten a memo like that for a
Really
while.
nice to see. Even just as having it as reference for the supporting documentation, I feel like for our ultimate report is even just for that,
Yep.
I think it's super helpful.
Yeah, no, it was very good.
I mean, the part that I did, so I agree, no need to go deep in the Collins memo since it just came out, but part that I just add in addition to as we think about it to discuss the next time is, I think that given that how many boards, committees were flipping from elected to appointed, that to not list them in the charter somewhere is just too much of a cliff and them falling off of the radar screen. Because I know cemetery I'll use, I think I was very convinced I want them to be as active as they are when they're appointed as they are when they're elected.
Right.
And therefore, by having it included in the charter, I think that does give them space and relevancy with regard to their comments, et cetera, to continue on as they have been. Absent that, I would feel like they'd have a legitimate beef for or not even recognized. So I just want to throw that, because that's where I'm clearly see myself not changing in a couple of weeks when we talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe adding to that, I feel like if we're going to list out any appointed boards, we should have like a reason, right? Like, we want this board to be in the charter because we have a genuine concern that it might otherwise drop off, not just throw it in for the sake of it to add complexity to the charter, but it has a very defined kind of rationale for why we want to keep it on the town's agenda. So,
I mean,
I think,
this,
yeah,
this
makes
might
sense.
point to another part that I think is in our charge, but I'm not certain that we've come up on it yet. And that is dissolving or recommending some of the boards and committees be dissolved. there are multiple committees and boards that have not met for a year or two. There's one recently that I got into with some select board members and said, why aren't you throwing this to X committee? And one of the responses was, does that still exist? Yep, it's out on the website. And therefore, I think maybe a laundry list of what are those that seemingly haven't met, aren't doing it. I'm not trying to pick on ones that are active. I'm just saying, I don't want to list everything in the charter for those that seemingly
Yeah, I don't
haven't
think
been
we list
doing
them all
anything
anyway, because
for
some of
us.
them are just temporary anyway, but I think that, yeah, I mean, if it's not part of the charter, I think it should be on something like, once we get through this stuff, and then we can decide how much we want to look at those things and so on, right?
Yeah, and we've captured it in that Excel sheet, so we
Correct.
can.
Right, that's
have
what you
the-
got there.
Just
The
identify.
list of them, I didn't look at who met versus who didn't, I
Yeah.
just said,
Right.
these are the ones
Yeah.
that exist.
Just
So
say
we
may
use
as
that
well
as a
bring it up
starting
and
point.
saying, it's fine, right. Okay. All right. All right, so here's another one. What was this about? So we're in 3.4 again. This is 3.4G. Okay, so this is about the audit. So there has to be an audit. And one of the questions was, should we add some, because right now it just says, ensure an audit is conducted. An annual audit is conducted. And it's performed by certified CPA and so on. And that the accountant or firm shall be approved by the select board upon recommendation by the town manager. So one option would be to put a mandate in there that the contract for that auditor should be put out to bid at least once every 5 years. Now, I don't know whether that really needs to be something in the charter, or is that just more of a management decision thing? And that's just so, obviously, people don't get too cozy, right, with your current auditors and everybody, they just stay around because everybody's comfortable.
I don't think it belongs in the charter.
You don't think it belongs in the charter? Yeah. Okay,
I agree.
If it's important, it should be in a bylaw.
okay. All right, good.
Anybody feel different? I agree
Yeah, yeah.
with you,
Anybody
Alan.
else? Yep.
I agree, but I just want to give opportunity if somebody else disagrees.
So we're just taking out the,
It wasn't, it was never there.
contract, or the.
No, this is gonna stay. The suggestion was, do we want to add something in mandating that the audit be put out to bid? So you might get a new CPA. Yeah,
I would
that-
just,
that's
yeah.
not in the charter,
That's
right?
more policy to
Yeah.
me, though.
Okay,
Seems more
good.
that way, yeah.
When you called my attention to this paragraph, I was reading it and I was guessing what you were going to get at, and I was wondering whether it was, the first sentence says, ensure that an annual financial audit is conducted. And then, what gets, and should it say, and delivered to, who, should it say, after it's conducted, what will happen with it?
Well,
Does it,
that's a good point. I guess it's under the select board
Yeah.
thing, so it's gonna get,
where are we? In, what section?
So-
Select board.
it's under the select board.
So currently, they're listed under the town accountant on the website. And my gut is if you were to go to the town clerk's office, you could gain access to it there as well. We could easily add a statement with regard to ensure that it's, and I gave you some commentary pertaining to financial procedures where I propose audits, all audits should be posted to the town website.
It should be. They're supposed to be
And-
now.
And one is, the annual financial audit is, that's what we're talking about here. I think we could, to Kevin's point, I think we could add a statement here unless we find it ultimately in financial procedures, which I think is also another place where it might come up. But we haven't discussed that yet.
So we just ensure an annual financial audit is conducted and publicly available, and results are publicly available, or
Yeah,
something like
posted,
that.
yeah. Posted to the town website as well as be available in the town clerk's office.
So that's not different than what we do, we're just ensuring that it
You're
continues.
just putting it in here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can add something there about and made publicly available, right? Okay.
Good.
All right. So, the town manager stuff we moved around again. That was the one that had gotten moved without us knowing about it. And
Did you say what section you're on?
I'm sorry, 3.5. Yeah, 3.5, sorry. And so we moved that to 6, which is a section on the town manager.
Make people dizzy looking at this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope what we can do with this is, again, we get to a certain point, we haven't gone through the whole document once yet in terms of the subcommittee. So we'll go through it, and then at some point, we agree on the open items, or we still note them as open items, but all the other stuff, we kind of say, we're done with that, it's not only resolved, you take the tracking off so you can read the document again, because it gets crazy after a while, right? So we'll have some stopping points like that, where we clean it up, say this is our new starting point, and then we keep going. Because we can always go back and change something again.
I don't know if you guys have been using this feature, but I personally like using when you just do simple markup. So it will maintain the markup, but you're only viewing comments. So I find it, I don't know if that's
Oh,
something
interesting.
you've-
I know, I don't know
So if
about
you just
that.
select simple markup,
Okay.
it shows you, it basically accepts and hides, well, it doesn't accept, it hides any of the tracked changes.
Okay.
So you're reading it just like a untracked
Okay,
document.
but you see all the comments.
But
and what's-
you can see the comments, and then you can just go back to full markup mode or whatever.
Okay.
But it means you can visually just follow the
right,
document,
okay.
and then, like you said, you can spot all those weirdnesses where you've got like a double space or something.
Mm-hmm. yeah.
And it'll avoid having to accept them all. I mean, we can keep everything if
Mm-hmm.
you want to, and then just view it in simple markup.
Okay, all right, I'll look into that and see what we got. Okay. So that was that. So Rob found for 310, temporary vacancies, and 11 and 12, Rob has some alternative language that he found in Auburn. I did not put it in here, and we did not put it in here yet. I guess that was just on me to go back and, because that's the one you had emailed, right? Or is it?
Yeah, I send it to the subcommittee.
Yeah.
So the gist of it is that our current document deals with temporary vacancies and removal and a whole bunch of stuff. It's actually a full page in our draft currently. He has in 4 sentences that if there's a need for the town manager for, an illness or something like that, select boards appoint somebody in order to, carry on the responsibilities, et cetera. And it's extremely tight as opposed to just layers of
Yeah.
words. So
We'll
if
bring
you're
that.
okay, can throw that out to everybody so that we could then discuss it at the next meeting and consider swapping out or keeping it as is, our current charter.
Well, I think we definitely, I think we want to clean this up, but, so anyway, so that's what that section is, so that's still just an open, be done. School committee, I don't know that we made these changes during our meeting. Was that already, those were already done? The terms of office, okay, so you mentioned some of these were awkward. What I tried to do in the terms of office here was just put in the wording we were using for the elected positions elsewhere.
Yeah, so I think, agree with what you did, other than the formatting of it, needs the
Yeah,
ABC sort of thing. And it needs to, terms of office is one that needs to be here, because in the other elected,
Right.
we specifically say except for, and school committees one of the except for.
We haven't gotten to that yet with the whole team, but yeah.
Right, but I'm just saying,
Yeah, that's right.
we need, because it's gonna be removed, school committees may removed there, it needs to be in terms of office right here.
And this is the standard wording now we're using for everything, so. So Surto, because before, everything was different. Sometimes it was, until another successor's in, or it's the day after the election, or it's 3 days after everyone was different. So this was just making it standard.
And the standard is that now.
This is basically the same, and you'll see it in the next section, we'll show you where we actually just took it out of all the different individual ones and just put it at the beginning. So you'll see.
Should this say sworn in instead of?
They, the terms, this is how they say it, they say have been sworn rather than have been sworn in. Is that standard, Tim, from your
I
standpoint?
think it means the same thing, but,
You're supposed to end with a preposition.
no, well. And someone serves until their successor has been qualified. Yeah, I mean, does that mean until they've been elected
Yeah,
or
so
until they're sworn in?
Yeah, we got rid of that.
Kinda,
So
yeah.
sworn, it's just a matter, is sworn appropriate, or should it be sworn in, or is it either or is okay?
I guess it depends if
The
you want
documents we had, they all said sworn.
legalese or normal people language.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly, basically, that's what it is, legal or normal people language, exactly. We can ask her, we can check a few more and see what, if we get any synopsis of what other people are doing. All right. All right, and then, I guess what we did here, so the school committee is here, and it talks about their powers and duties. And for some reason, for the school committee, it also showed officers and election and term and their powers and duties. We don't talk about that for anybody else, so I guess maybe we already did that as a team, so that's out of there.
yeah, I have that in the notes.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. All right, and then, all right, so now we're in Article 5, other elected officers.
Sorry,
And-
Betsy, just going
Uh-huh,
with,
sure.
there was one note, the Housing Authority 5-year term, I just had a note that we just keep for now, but is that fully
I think it's
resolved
gonna
at
stay.
this point?
Collins basically said they don't know anybody else, and I did some searching and some Googling and some AIing, and it doesn't look like anybody's changed that, so I think we'll just leave that. Although, it is interesting, because one of the things that came up was that they're all 5 years, except for the state-appointed one, and that's 3. Just typical.
Okay,
When you were a state appointed, right?
The Housing
No,
Authority?
no,
I
I was an
state
elected
appointed, but when I
member.
was appointed, it was a 5-year gig.
Was it?
Yeah,
It's not 3 years.
Okay, that might have been AI information that was wrong, then, who
Yeah,
knows?
it's a 5-year.
It's a 5-year gig, so
okay,
we'll,
so
we're
we're
just,
keeping 5
we're
year.
just, we're not gonna go down that path. There's no reason to blaze that trail for no good reason down in the State House, I don't think. But thank you for bringing that one up.
so Betsy, on 51A, I think here we added the notation, 3 members of the Board of Health, because we're currently proposing a hybrid Board of
Right.
Health, okay? But in consistency then, my question is, the Housing Authority would then have 3 or 4 members that are elected, because the one is appointed by the governor's office.
The state,
And I think there's also, is there an election, or I think it's an appointed to be a tenant?
Right.
So I think the number here would be 3 members
okay.
of the Housing Authority, similar to the 3 members Board of Health, if we're going to go this route
Yeah.
of
I
identifying.
think so, might as well.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and then we added C. So this is, rather than having every one of these boards, town clerk, board of light, board of commitment, water, library, all of them saying terms of office is 3 years. We're just gonna put in the beginning, they're all 3 years.
Except,
Yeah, except the housing authority, right?
Yeah.
Right. Just to, again, tighten it up a little bit.
Should it say housing authority or as otherwise provide, I'm just wondering, could there be another exception somewhere down the road? So yeah. So you're only allowing for that one and only one exception.
So these would be elected positions, so we probably wouldn't create new ones. It's a good thought, though, so.
But let's
if it was
just,
a
let's
board,
just play that out,
Yeah.
to Kyle's point and to
Yeah.
Kevin's point. If somebody said in the submissions, flip FinCom to be elected, in the event that somehow, some way in the future it became elected,
Mm-hmm.
that's when they could, whoever is associated with flipping that from an appointed to elected, could then deal with
The
and
term,
charter
it could be an
update.
exception if they had to.
Well, or deal with it in terms of the next update of the charter in order to, get along. So I'm not overly concerned with regard to that we're limiting, because I think there's a vehicle for government to evolve. Part of recommendation will probably be that we're gonna review this in 8 to 10 years. Charters can be reviewed again as we, depart from it. Can be dealt with then if it needs to be.
Okay, you okay? Kyle, you all right with it? By the way? Okay. All right, and then Tim caught in the next section, the vacancy thing, that there's a whole thing about how the vacancy works, and that's all true, except for the town moderator, town clerk. I'll probably rearrange that exception so it doesn't start with that, but, and then we have to put in some different things. I guess the question here is, and we'll, at the subcommittee, we don't have to talk about it here unless we feel strongly. Do we put what does happen for the town moderator and town clerk here in this upper section, or just put it under the moderator and town clerk? But they're different, because in these other ones, we just say, if a vacancy occurs, then basically, the other boards just vote somebody in. And if you're town moderator or the town clerk, then that's not the case, and it's the assistant, in terms of the town clerk, fills in until there's the next election, correct? Tim?
Correct, yeah.
And same for the moderator, more or less? It
Yeah,
depends when it
well,
happens.
now there's no requirement of having a deputy moderator, which I think to Kevin's point he made months ago, it makes sense to have a deputy who could fill in
Right,
until the next election, when they could be elected in their own right, or someone else could be elected.
so,
So now we have a rationale for your deputy.
That's right, good job for them, yeah.
Somebody to get the coffee and,
all right, so
Was
town.
there some, oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Betsy.
No, go ahead,
Was
go
there
ahead.
some- I recall some back and forth thing around town registered voter versus resident versus, and I didn't, I can't remember who put that forward, but just, when someone gets off the books versus when they move, is that something we care enough about to worry about here? I mean, technically, when you move, you shouldn't be a registered voter in Littleton anymore if there's a 6-month delay or a 1-year delay. I mean, like, how much does that really impact?
You want to talk about that, Rob? Because you talked to Diane about it, right?
Enough to
Yeah,
change the
so,
language?
so there's abilities for, it sounds like she can be proactive and has been proactive. I'm not saying she's proactive by law or anything like that, just sounds like she scrubs it, and the field presented to me that she's got the ability to scrub the list, et cetera. It's in that concept of, if someone were to try, like, let's deal with Brian Tarbox right now, who just left town. He's formally resigned from FinCom, and he did it very promptly. But if he didn't, somebody else that has awareness that he left town could be, are you still eligible? And then follow it up with the town clerk's office and so forth. And that way, I would say, we can keep this clean with regard to, in order to be, you are a voter. And the definition of a voter is you're a resident. And that way, it's just very tight and not get into the what if, scenario. Or at
We
least
had
at least I'm comfortable with that.
we had that exact thing happen several years ago. Finance committee member moved out of town but didn't tell anybody. Until we found out.
Right, I forgot about that.
Oh, that makes
Well, be
sense.
careful,
Thanks, Rob.
because Brian left and resigned, but I asked him where he's going, he wouldn't tell me. So if he's still in town and somehow he resigned, then we're coming after you.
You really want to get off the
We're coming
front
after you,
end,
Brian.
I'll go down, enter Fletcher Lane and check, see if he's
There you go, there you go.
All right, so let's go back here. So, all right, so this is eligibility you're talking about. A voter shall be eligible. Okay. So, okay, but that, I mean, voter is restricting people too, because you could be a resident and you've never voted before, right?
No, it's the eligibility to be a voter. The definition of voter, if we go there, says you have to be a resident. Not a matter of whether you're actually voting, is that,
You can be a
Yeah, okay, so where are we all looking at now?
if you look at the definition of voter,
Where is that, in the beginning? Like in the definitions?
I swear I thought it was there.
It may be, I didn't
I don't
look.
see it here now.
When I was
don't
looking at
remember.
the wording in the other section that we're just looking
It
at
just
was
says registered
Oh, no,
voters of the
voters, it
town of
does say
Littleton.
reg-
registered voter, yeah.
Okay, so voters, registered voters, so that's fine, but what I'm looking at is under, we're talking about elected positions. And so who is eligible to be elected for election? Do you have to be a voter to be eligible for election, or you just have to be a resident? You have to have voted before. You kind of assume they would, but is that really a requirement?
No,
Well, right
I don't
now,
think
it says
so.
any voter shall be eligible,
Not, yeah.
Yeah,
and
you could-
not any resident.
You
That's
could
what
be
it
a
says.
resident and not vote.
You can also be a resident
Well, the-
that's 15.
The
Well, that
definition of
age,
voter
yeah.
here is a registered voter. It's not that you
Registered.
voted.
Do we want to use that?
Yeah,
Do
maybe
we want to
just-
say registered?
No,
Where
so-
is
So the
this?
I'm looking at-
definition is at
Yeah.
the top
What-
of
what we
page
look-
7.
Okay,
What
hang on, let's see, we're all looking at the same thing here.
Well, because we're saying any voter, and we're wondering, should it say any registered voter?
Well, I don't
Well,
know,
but-
this is to be eligible for election,
But
do you have to
voter
be a
is
voter to
already
be eligible for
defined.
election? I don't think you do.
Voter is defined, so basically what this says is you have to be a registered voter because voter is defined at the top of page 7 as a registered voter of the town of Littleton.
Right.
So what this is saying is that you have to be a registered voter to be,
Okay, yeah.
to be
Eligible.
considered.
To run for
be ele-
election.
yeah,
Yeah.
Is that
And
just?
you want to be, really just be resident though,
You
right?
can't be a registered voter unless you're a
Right. But you could
resident.
be, but you could run for office if you were a resident and not a registered voter.
Can you?
I don't know, that's a question. No?
I think that's a legal question
No.
though, because I
If
don't.
you're, in order to be a voter,
No, not
In-
to run for office, not to be a voter, to run for office. This is eligible to run for office, eligible for election.
any
I'm
vote.
looking at
What are you looking at? What?
5(1)B.
But then you could also be 12 years old and a resident
Well, wait,
and not a
but-
voter.
Okay, that's
But-
true.
but
Right,
hold on.
Election.
That's true,
But,
you're right.
but 5(1)B says any voter.
Would it be possible, I guess we're saying, if I
No,
move
A
to,
voter, and a voter has to be a resident. You cannot, cannot,
Yes, I agree,
And
but
you
a
can't
resident
be-
doesn't have to be a voter, that's what I'm saying. Do you really have to be a voter to run for office?
Well, that's what we're,
That's,
yeah.
that's the
I
question.
don't know.
Well,
yeah.
yes.
yeah.
My
Yeah.
opinion would be, I hope so.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to elect someone who's
Yeah.
never participated in the democratic process before.
Maybe.
But I don't know if that is.
That's just
We've
my
we've had
opinion.
select
So,
board
yeah.
members that never
So-
went to a town
so-
meeting before they were on, I
So,
think,
so
but,
let's say from a census standpoint, we all
Yeah.
recently have gotten the census.
yeah.
If you don't fill out the census for 2 census periods in a
They'll take
row,
you off the
you're
rolls.
removed. And
Yep.
I think that's a great qualification for, if you're not complying and filling out and establishing your residency in Littleton, then you shouldn't be.
Answer is no.
That's a pretty low bar. I mean, it's an important bar, but I think that exists.
Well, we're just
Okay. Yep.
sidebarring, it may not be even legal, like generally. If you are not a registered voter, you cannot legally be hold an elected position. So it may be moot, I guess, is the point. If it's something that's
Okay.
outside of
I
our
mean, I think
control.
I think someone said this is probably a legal
Well,
question.
I don't think we should beat that horse to death.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. And there might
Chances are, if you never vote in town, it wouldn't occur to you to run for office either, you know, so.
I'd agree.
Someone could write you in.
But there's a sort of, there's,
Back to that again.
I'm with,
End up with a board
I'm
of
with Alan.
assessors.
Or let town council, when we get along with
All
this,
right.
let them deal with it.
there's like
But
a
I think-
norms piece here, and then there's actually like if I want to go and be an elected official, someone's going to say at some point, "Well, are you a registered voter?" As like a legal part of the process. I don't know. So that's,
I don't know if
that's
they do or
the-
not.
Yeah.
I don't know, I had to fill out papers here to be on the, to run for trust fund commission, nobody asked me.
Yeah, is there any
about it.
language on
She
that?
knew I was, but nobody asked.
But you have to
I think
sign
if we leave
that
this
you
as
agree to
is-
be nominated, right?
Yeah?
Does it say, I am a voter or anything like that, or?
So can we leave it as is and just flag it and say, is
Yeah,
there any
we
issue?
can.
But that gets submitted to the town clerk's office, who's the reason why you're doing 50 and why you're getting more than 50 is because you know the town clerk's gonna check, are these legitimate registered voters that are signing your petition that has a requirement of 50? There's a lot of detailed checking that's going on
Yeah.
that's outside of charter that
Okay, all right, we'll leave it then, that's good. Just want to make sure. Because, anyway, so because you brought that up about the voter thing, and I wasn't sure which one we were talking about, but, all right, so then, yeah, so then we added C here in this same section, so 5(1)C, this is where we added the terms of office, that this applies for all of them then, rather than having it in each section. Then we talked about this already, and then, yeah, the town moderator and the clerk, all right, and then town moderator, what do we do? Oh, same thing, so then we took out, when we got into these individual ones, starting with town moderator, we took out the A and B in all of these, because we
Right.
put it up above now, so it's once, and we don't have to repeat it every time. Okay? Yep. Same for these. There wasn't a lot, yeah, a lot of cleanup of names of groups and so on. For any comments in here, once we get in that layer, we don't get as wordy, huh? Yeah, we gotta add the wording about the deputy and so on, we'll do that. Yeah, and I don't think there was a lot in here. We stopped after 5(9), I guess, 5(10) maybe in the old one. And that's as far as we got last Saturday, or Friday. And we'll continue on this Friday and keep going. But I should draw your attention, however, to this cover page we now have.
Very nice.
And, way more importantly, the table of contents. This does not automatically regenerate though, Kevin, so when we
So-
change things, we have to regenerate this. So as we've been moving things around, this doesn't automatically update.
There's a way to,
Should.
There's
a way to do that,
Okay?
yeah, you take
Yeah.
you highlight, you highlight one of the pre-existing
Yeah.
sections, hit the paintbrush, and apply it to the next section.
It didn't do it anyway for this one.
he accepts your challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was meaning to tell you that.
okay, yeah, that's
How
okay.
you can get this thing to keep repeating when you add new things.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we did a lot of moving
And
around.
the page numbers will
Right,
update and
right,
everything, yeah.
Isn't that awesome to have that?
It's amazing. I just like,
The best part, really.
I mean, really, I mean, it was so satisfying to see this document, so to the wordsmithing group, like,
We're not giving up control of the document after this point,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, oh no, this is ours at this point, yeah.
exactly. It is nice though,
We'll
right,
get
to be
updates
able
from
to,
Collins, but they're
really
not gonna
own
have
it.
it, we're gonna have it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice
So,
to own it.
Yeah, we're definitely there. So anyway, that's as far as we got now. I mean, some of these things got moved to the future ones. I didn't go through those here. So, but we'll get to that when we go through the other ones. But in general, you can see the kind of stuff we're doing and the detail. Most of it's pretty detailed. We're trying to make a real point of things, amongst us, we might say, yeah, but we really need to come back to the committee and make sure everybody knows for that, so.
Yeah, I really like it.
All right. Anything else? Okay. The financial piece is still being worked, we're going back and forth on some different things there, and there were some new suggestions over the weekend that I haven't gone through yet, or gotten noodled enough yet, and worked with some other people, figure out go to the consultants and so on, so that's still being worked, so it's not being forgotten, and I think we're making progress, but we're not there yet. Okay, we're moving along on this faster than I thought we would, that's great. Do you want to, Karen, you want to bring up your spreadsheet? You want to talk about, or are you ready? I should say, because people didn't have a lot of time on this one either. So the next thing I would say we would spend time on would be looking at some of these things that we've changed from elected to appointed and so on, and start saying, now that we've gone all the way through it, do we want to go back and relook at them and making sure we did it consistently, like we changed the Board of Health to 2 out of 3, and do we want to do that for anybody else, or are there other things we want to think about?
So I can walk through what I did and
Okay.
then leave it for
Yeah.
people to absorb.
Yeah, then that might be good, even just to do that.
That's all right. what we have here is the version that we did over the summer in June. Then we've got the current one, which has a couple new columns. So I labeled them current, and then way over here I added proposed changes, and I'll just expand those a little bit so you can see. So I tried to capture whether we were doing anything, yes, or whether it was a language change, so you can filter on that. And then what type of change. So let me click on a yes just for fun so you can see. So we talked about, I'm just calling it selection and reporting. So hired by TA, shift from elected to appointed, da 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 da. So you can just kind of scroll through this and see what we've got. Because it was getting dizzying to look at.
Yeah, those are boards and people and everybody else.
Yeah,
individuals.
I tried to summarize it here. So I did it by board, committee, and department, meaning employees. So what I'm saying here is board positions are elected. Generally, boards set policy, provide oversight, not typically involved in day-to-day. So over here, I've got, currently, we've got, I did it by positions and boards. So 14 that are elected, and we're saying we're proposed that there's 11, so we're now appointing 3. So I've got assessors, cemetery, trust fund, and health.
So, okay, let's talk about this. So current elected positions.
So that would be the clerk and the moderator, as opposed to
Okay,
a
so
board.
as opposed to a board. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah,
And
so
12
then,
boards.
yeah. So I just tried to summarize, we're moving from elected to appointed, we had one, and I may not have captured all this, changing the term of service. And then, every time I see light and water, I'm like, what is
Yeah.
going on? So I've just got clarify
They
what we're
just
doing
have
with
to-
that. Yeah, right, because we know in theory they're 2 separate boards, but in practice, they act as one. So how are we going to continue to distinguish that there are 2 boards?
Because they are 2 boards.
List them separately, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So that's what I did for the
That's,
boards. On the committee section,
Where do we have the thing about somebody can't hold 2 positions? Where is that in this charter? Because that was still an open thing, right? Where is that?
I know we
Later
talked
on?
about it, but I
I think it was
Don't
only we
remember where
said
we
that the
left it.
select board cannot hold another elected position, but we didn't
Oh,
prohibit
that was it.
other
Select
elected
board.
officials
That
from
was it.
holding 2 elected positions.
That's how I remembered it
Yeah.
as well.
Okay.
So then I did something similar for committees. So committees are appointed by the select board. Noted that appointed means more independent, maybe some specific expertise, or sometimes there's a law that requires that somebody is appointed. And there's different types of committees. It could be statutory, standing, ad hoc, short-term, depending on what the need is. And I identified 27, we're leaving it at 27, so to your point, Rob, we haven't suggested that any go away at this point, but we haven't done that exercise either, so that's still there.
So, but you say active committee, so that's everybody on your list.
That's everybody on my,
My list.
on the website and
So,
on my list.
active.
Yeah, okay.
In
So,
quotes.
yes, okay, fair
Existing.
point, fair point.
Okay.
So then I've got the finance committee where they've got people appointed by different people, and that we're replacing.
Okay, so one by, it should be water, not light, and we have to fix that several places in the charter, or a couple of places in the charter too, but that's, right now, we're saying, and not the Board of Assessors, it's library and water.
Okay, so I've got the change, library.
Oh, I'm sorry, duh,
Nope, but
Okay.
that's,
change one, yep.
and then light and water is going to be water? is that-
Yes,
So that answered my other question. How can light and water?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it should just be water.
Excellent. Actually, I'm not gonna sit and type this, I'm just gonna flag it and I'll
Yep.
do it later.
Gotcha.
So then on departments, I'm grouping this as functional organizations staffed by town employees, governed by the personnel system, whatever that might be. and this is a me thing, talking about hired versus appointed employees. So I'm saying the vast majority of town employees are hired.
Yes.
Meaning there's a job description posted, you apply, your compensation is in a range, you have a manager, versus appointed. And so I'm just thinking in my own mind, we talk about employees being hired versus appointed, although there are exceptions, as there are for anything.
So is there a difference on that if you have a contract, Kevin, is there any difference? You know, if you're considered appointed, if you have a contract, you're still hired versus appointed. So we might say the police chief is appointed, but in fact, he's hired, just happens to have a contract.
Yeah,
But there's no
teachers
difference
have
otherwise.
contracts and.
Yeah.
Is it both? Because, well, are we saying that the select board will appoint the fire chief, though?
Well, so this is what we're getting into.
Well, that's
So,
exactly what happens. They appoint the fire chief, and then they engage in the contract, work out a contract for the fire chief and the police chief.
And ends up getting hired after
Well-
all is said and done?
But I would say that they
We're
are
not always.
hired by the town.
Yes.
The legal contract, they are hired by the town of Littleton. Their contract is between them and the town of Littleton, not with an individual, like, not with the select board. They're-
Right.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Absolutely.
hired by
Oh,
the
yeah.
town of Littleton.
And
And that's why I think that, to me, the difference comes that the select board, by saying, or whoever is appointing, is essentially we're saying the appointment is the decision-making authority who says you, not you. Like, that is the appointment authority.
well, the appointment
But
is the
there's two
executive
separate
decision.
words.
Yeah, so-
Yeah, the appointment is the executive decision, but when you say hired, you're talking about the functional relationship that you have between your employer, Town of Littleton, and you as an individual. So I do think, to your point, Karen, I think they are separate words for separate reasons. So it might make sense just to use hired when we're talking about they have a contractual relationship with the Town of Littleton, and appointed when we're talking about who has the executive authority to make the decision on who is hired.
yeah, so assuming everyone's hired, here's what I identified as exceptions. The town clerk is elected.
That's true.
I don't know which laws, but Littleton Public Schools and the Electric Light and Water Department are not hired by the town. There's Littleton.
No, they are.
Well, the public schools fall under the superintendent, not the town manager. And LWD is a separate entity. So I
But
flagged
they're still
that.
paid, they're employees of the town, though.
But they don't fall under the same.
They don't, yeah, right, they don't have the
That
same
doesn't matter.
manager, but they're employees of the town. They get W-9s, or W-2s and all that.
That's where I
Yeah.
do think that the term hired and appointment helps, because
Yeah.
they're all hired by the Town of Littleton, but the appointment authority is different.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Right, okay, so that's.
And I
what-
think that's,
So-
to me, where it,
So
Yeah.
stick with that through now. So light, separate from water,
because their appointing authority is different.
correct.
And
And then they
school
probably have an
appointing
H,
authority.
then Michelle comes through with the HR system of the town that extends the hiring letter and the offer
Hired by the
letter
town of Littleton.
that is accepted, et cetera. Same for school employees. So each one of those, I think, follows with, we retain appoint language in the charter to demonstrate who's got that, as you're using it, executive authority, decision-making capability. And we stay away from this concept of being concerned about hiring. Is it odd language to somebody that's not doing the stuff that we're doing? Probably. But I think we're doing it and understanding the distinction between the two words, and they mean something.
And the consistency, I think, to Karen's point, I like that you keep on holding us to account on this one. I don't think that there is a single paid member of town that isn't hired by the Town of Littleton. So that is fully consistent across the entire town, and we can maybe be comfortable with that.
That's
That's
true.
always the case, no matter what, you're hired by the Town of Littleton. So we only ever really have to deal with this notion of who appoints the person who makes the executive decision on who the candidate is, the successful candidate, whatever.
And the appointment also determines basically who they report to, though.
Yes, yeah, it would establish that line of authority for
Well, let's
performance
check out.
management.
All right.
No, no, that's not, no, that's
We had
not,
different
that's
for
not
the
what we're
fire.
proposing.
Split on the fire and
Yeah.
police
Right.
chief. They're appointed by the select board, but
Okay, we're gonna have them
report.
report to the town manager.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Which is the one that we've kind of broken. That one
Yeah.
we're doing consistently with the rest, I think,
Yeah.
right?
So here's where I talk about strong roles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying here, it means, and I got this from Charlotte's newsletter, clear accountability for overseeing operations, including the budget, full authority for implementing and enforcing laws, full authority for hiring, evaluating. And I included the superintendent of schools in that, because they seem to be a separate. And I didn't include light and water, because in my mind, that was a separate entity from the town.
So where did you say you included the schools in what?
In the strong role.
Oh, I see, strong roles. I got you. I was looking
And then
further
for-
down than you were, okay.
Yep, and then for a change, I'm saying we're changing town administrator to a strong town manager.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I wonder, should light and water be up above though? Because they do all that stuff on their own.
It was my
Joe, are
understanding
you
after
here?
that.
Are you with us?
That they were like a standalone entity with a separate tax ID and everything else.
I think they're parastatal. I mean, they are still an entity of the town of, like a parastatal entity, which I'm not sure how you call that in this context.
I can add that as a fix. So then the other changes I've got are formally appointed by select board to town administrator with select board approval, police chief, fire chief.
So I
Did
had
we-
previous
Hang on.
notes.
Is
To
that,
hired by.
are we saying it's still the select board? I
Yeah.
thought everything,
For police and
was town
fire, are we
manager.
saying they're hired by the TA, well, it'd be TM anyway,
with
but
select board
an
approval.
approval, or are we saying that
Because we have them reporting to the town
we do?
manager.
Town manager.
So I'm assuming the town manager would be responsible for the hiring process, and then we added in the select board approval.
The notes from the previous minutes said appointed by the select board, managed by the town manager.
So we have to make some changes.
And either which way,
Yeah.
hired by the town of Littleton.
But that's an important thing that we're gonna get pushed
So
back
then
on, so we're gonna have
that's,
to.
so then that's not a change, though, that's.
No,
oh,
it
that-
is, because right now.
Yeah, the
Because right now they
reporting to
don't
the town
report,
manager
yeah.
part is a
Still,
change.
the reporting line is a change, yeah.
And hired by, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
right now, it's all
So
by,
that's
it's
just
all select board
reporting
now.
to- Well, in this case, TM.
And can we change it to, instead of saying hired by select board, it would say appointed by?
Yeah, I'll have to go
Okay.
through and clean that up in a number of places. And then here, I've identified changes, and I may have missed a couple, but hired by the board. And then the
Right.
change would be hired by the town administrator or designee. And I don't remember what we decided on all of these.
So the library
Yes.
director states in 5.7 that the Board of Library Trustees shall appoint or remove the library director.
Okay. so
Yeah, that one's
out.
legally, let me
Yeah.
go back to the,
And I thought that the town manager was supervising the park and rec director. And I thought also,
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely,
okay,
absolutely.
that's what I thought. So that was a
So that's
question
not
mark
a
that you
question.
had.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
that's one of the basic tenets we've gone through here, is that you have a full-time job for the town, you're working for a full-time employee of the town, you know, you gotta have a full-time manager.
So the
It just
only
makes
exception
sense.
there is the library one.
Yes.
Yes, the library.
So I
is
do have
exception.
I have a note here that says, is it actually not required for the library director to be appointed by the Board of Trustees, but if they're opposed, it'll be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think
I think-
there
I wouldn't
is
go
legal
there.
precedent, but they were like, don't even.
I think if you
don't even
remember,
try.
Katrina spoke to me in terms of, you have, and I believe she's correct, in the charter, we could take that on
Right,
and
but
say
it-
that, but
Not worth
we
it,
chose
no.
not to.
Yeah, no, that aligns with our notes from the previous discussions, yeah.
Okay, Is the chief assessor now, are they appointed by the Board of Assessors, or are they appointed by the TA now, or TM?
I believe it's the TA.
That's what I thought. I don't think that's a change, the chief
Yeah.
assessor one.
According to our notes, they currently are appointed by the town administrator, and they report jointly to the town administrator and the board, yeah.
So I'm ready to weigh in on something higher up, but I don't want to derail this if we're still in
So
this specific.
this is what I had attempted to summarize. I've got some other questions in here. I don't really want to go through all of them at the moment.
No, I
but-
think your summary was really good, and that was good. We just did even that, just that
Yeah.
cleanup and that clarification. That was good.
So there's other details in here. I'll clean this up and send another round out based on what we talked about, and then you guys can take a deeper look.
Okay, so then,
At that.
okay, now let's go to Rob's, because I think
Right.
he's going to get to another point of another thing
Yeah.
we need to look at, or things we need to look at.
Okay, so this is a me. I wasn't here when you folks discussed in September Park and Rec. I feel very strongly against where we're currently at. So I can just state that and be done, or I can go on. But Park and Rec,
Just scroll up on your.
Park
on
and
your
Rec,
thing, the ones that we-
I believe should be appointed and not elected. I can give reasons, should you care to hear them, but I also recognize that you folks had deliberation on it, and I wasn't here, and you came to the conclusion that you're gonna continue the election.
Well, I kind of wanted to go back and, again, once we went through this, because we kind of came across, because we did Board of Health later, and we came up with this hybrid. And so I kind of said, well, we should go back and look at all these again anyway, and just
Yeah.
think about it, I think, based on what we've gone through. If other people are, do you want to do that tonight? Are you prepared to spend a few minutes and do it tonight, talk about it? Is that okay? Yeah?
Which specific?
So here we have number boards 12. And which ones, can you, on your other one, your other sheet, can you list the boards and not people?
Sure.
Are we talking about boards being elected versus appointed? We moved on from department heads and who they
Yes.
report to, okay.
Yes.
So there's a lot here. So what,
Right, so some of them we didn't even talk about, so let's go to the top, let's just
Okay.
start at the top and go down the ones we talked about. So Board of Assessors,
So which sheet are you on?
this is current org chart,
Okay,
26, or 2026.
what are you filtering?
I filtered on type equals board on the far left column.
and also Karen, based on that Collins memo, we need to add a Board of Registrars to this too. It's kind of an appointed thing and so on, it came through in that Collins memo, and I have some emails from Diane, which I'll
Do we
share.
have one?
We do, and it's kind of appointed people, and they don't really meet, they kind of have to be there in case there's election issues, but they should
Okay.
be on the list, it's an
Okay.
MDL thing, so it should be on the list. Board of Registrars.
People have to look at type. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
All right, sorry, now let's go back up.
Oh, I
so-
also added in budget category, because that was a cool thing that was on those budget sheets. So this is just.
What's that?
The budget category was a little nugget
Oh.
of information that was on
Oh,
that.
yeah, when they do
FY27
that, it's always
budget.
interesting, that,
Yeah,
yeah. All right, so Board of Assessors we've talked about, right? So we've changed, and we've already said that we're gonna recommend they get changed from elected to appointed, correct?
mm-hmm,
Okay.
yep.
Board of Health, we've talked, everybody okay with that one? Anybody want to change that one?
No.
Okay?
I'm actually for Board of Health being completely flipped. I know I accepted the hybrid.
No, not, oh, okay, but Board of Assessors, I want to make sure everybody's
Oh, I
agreed
thought you'd
before we
already
move
moved on.
Board of
Sorry.
Assessors is good, okay. All right, Board of Health,
So Board of Health, we're currently proposing a hybrid
yeah,
from a all
elected.
elected. I'm actually for all appointed, but you can, where I'm coming briefly,
Okay, yeah,
we have MOUs, and we've, I think, heard loud and clear from Select Board of MOUs are a problem, please, please, please. I then look at, we're flipping to a strong town manager, and one of the powers and duties is to have, from my standpoint, efficiency, clarity with regard to who reports to who, and the ability to execute what the mission is given to that town manager. When we have elected boards, which for me is Board of Health and Park and Rec, that are just complete outliers. I can see planning, I can rationalize all the other ones. But those two, I can't rationalize. And I have knowledge about one of them that is in the last 5 to 10 years of being a very thorny, argumentative situation as to who the person reports to. And to me, that's one of several reasons for ought to be flipped, so that this town manager and the residents know this is who I go to when I have something that needs to get done, and there's not all of a sudden dividing with regard
But that
to.
goes away anyway, we're saying that goes away. Going forward, that they don't report to the board anymore, they report to the town manager.
So
Just-
continuing
Yeah.
that thread, except that when a department director can state, yes, you supervise me, but I report to them. And they identify the policies and the directions that I'm supposed to get. And therefore, you and I are at odds because I feel like I've got them, the elected board, telling me to execute in the following ways. You tell me differently. I could do it, I could use a current example, but I don't necessarily want to go this down unless you want me to, draw this out. But I have detailed examples that I feel like I don't see how we're proposing for the Board of Health and Park and Rec to continue elected officials. It's inconsistent with a strong town manager being able to manage and direct the departments of the town. I don't see it.
So just maybe the way that I was seeing it previously, I very much hear what you're saying. But if we're shifting to a strong town manager model and a kind of professionalization, the very role of the town manager would be to effectively manage their reports. So let's say Director of Health or Director of Parks and Rec. And managing them involves managing the balance between operationally getting things done and following the appropriate policy and guidance of the boards. I mean, I realize that may be a little potentially optimistic, or maybe it's just essentially saying like that is a functional structure, and just because we can envisage tensions that could arise, does it mean that that functional structure shouldn't exist in that way? In some ways, I think it's healthy to have an independent board that's accountable to the community and that are elected and setting policy as guidance. And if it's essentially they are guiding, they are advising based on their elected positions, but at the end of the day, the execution, the operations, it's the buck stops with the
So-
department head and the town manager.
So I think for me, aligning a strong town manager and still maintaining, to your point, the responsibility of being accountable to the residents, I view that as being in the select board election. And that therefore, if you have appointed a town manager who has all these responsibility for all the departments in the town, and should you, the residents, not be happy with the decisions to be made, you vote out those select board members, et cetera, rather than the specialists aspect that can raise a point. It's a legitimate one. Some have said, like cemetery, result in diminishment of the effective execution pursuing those responsibilities of that board. I'll give an example, and I'm not saying I'm right, far from it. I think we've got Park and Rec Commission and Director have just submitted for fiscal year 27, $6-point-something million in three capital requests that are legitimately based on a 2023 legitimate survey done by, I think it's ETC Institute. And they are for a dog park, the renovation of Fay Park, and a community pool. And I've heard and I've attended the meetings, and I'll attend more meetings, where they're quite confident with regard to, it was 2023, 3 years ago, community did it, and therefore we should be putting forward those things. TA, not even the strong town manager, is saying the budget for this year and the budget for next year, we don't have room for this stuff. And so you've got this friction dynamic with regard to, so should we be deferring them, or should we, or should I be dying on the hill with regard to, nope, it needs to be inserted here. My opinion, I want to look for a strong CFO like town manager saying, no, this has to be swept away, and we're not going to have ongoing dialogue discussion with regard to whether it's going to be put in here or not. And I don't know, this is currently about to play out. I don't know how it's going to play out. I think there's some reasonableness of the Park and Rec commissioners with regard to the town can't afford it. But the fact of the matter is, they did submit it. And I would argue that based on FinCom's statement of a year ago or 2 years ago, it should have been wiped off the board. Why put our town...
I guess the question, I hear what you're saying, I'm just not entirely, and I actually don't know where I sit on the side of this, so it's helpful to kind of play out the scenarios. Would that be fundamentally different with an appointed board who also has the same charge to understand the community needs, do surveys, set policies? There could still be that very tension.
It's possible that it isn't, except that then if they're appointed, the town manager who's also, led in by the select board, the town manager then has a place to go, which is the same select board that's identifying, you're asking me to prepare a and you got an appointed group that you appoint that is basically making it a difficult situation. So again, but enough of the detail. I'm just trying to give you an example of where I see it.
This is an important
Every
discussion to have.
budget is a question of prioritization. I
Yeah.
mean, not everything is going to make it. I think it's there. You should put forward things that you heard, and fine, year after year it keeps getting rejected, but eventually if it's a big enough priority, we'll find a way to fund it. I don't think that should determine whether a board is elected or appointed. That's just part of the budget process in my mind.
I have some opinions on this. So one is, I think in the Board of Health, absolutely. The Parks and Rec, I don't know. I don't know what goes into that. I have to imagine you have to have some experience in Parks and Rec and community. So I would probably err on the side of, yeah, it requires expertise as well. So that's like, what I'm saying is I could favor having both of them appointed. From the perspective of having a director report to a strong TM but you have an elected board over here that believes they report to the community, and they do, well, then I could see where you're going to run into the same issue where we have today with the MOUs, where the board is saying, I don't report to you. I don't have to do anything you tell me to do. I report to the community. And you have a director there that's stuck in the middle of like, well, I'm trying to take direction from my board, but I report on paper to the TM. What am I to do?
He writes my reports.
Right.
The other point, and this is interesting, because I'm also not firmly one camp or the other on this.
I'm
The
just
other-
trying to
only-
talk through
Yeah,
it.
exactly, and I think the other point to say, though, is these boards are not supposed to be in the day-to-day policymaking. They're not, the day-to-day, they're not supposed to be there, going, especially going, that's part of the premise of this whole thing. They are policy boards.
And they,
And-
I mean, at the end of the day, they don't have budget. They don't, I mean, they do not directly control hiring, firing, budget decisions. I mean, they are advising. So the long and the short of it is they can say whatever they want and nobody actually has to listen. I mean, that's the sort of,
Well, yeah, you mean,
you would
I
hope.
don't know. I would argue that if I can create policy that my department has to abide by, then I have a lot of power.
But policy is different from operational decisions. I mean, again, how do we want it to function? I would imagine you would want the elected board to look and, yeah, push the envelope a little bit about what maybe that department should be doing, accountable to the community, and set the appropriate kinds of policies and set like the direction and the strategy. And then it's kind of up to the department head and the TM to try to put that into action. And there has to be a point there, and that's the whole job of the management team to say, here's what you want, here is how we're going to make it happen. And some things just can't, you can't have a $20 million budget item if you don't actually have the money for it.
I just think trying to separate it, saying that, yes, the board can create policy, but we don't really have to abide by it. I mean, we just heard from FinCom, they have their own policy around how they handle finances. I don't think you could make the argument and say, well, you know, they created that financial policy,
Yeah,
but
I
we
guess
don't really have to
probably
abide by
poor
it.
choice of words on my part.
I just-
I feel like maybe it was more operational decisions. They can say, we need the town of Littleton to build a pool. Well, you know, you can't say, well, just because the elected board says we need a pool, that suddenly we have to build a pool.
You've got
I
to weigh
mean,
that against all the other
Exactly,
requests
you've
from
gotta
all the other departments and
prioritize
prioritize it
and-
and determine, it's just like any other budget exercise.
Yeah.
Everyone puts in their wish list, and then reality hits, and you're like, this is what we can manage. And you
Unless-
get a little pool, not the big pool.
I'm less focused on that specific example and more around having multiple, I guess, power struggles, where I have a board that's setting policy on the way things I need to operate, but I have a TM who writes my paycheck and does my annual reviews. And so it's almost like the operating model is set up for conflict.
well, or you could say that the board then, that policymaking board should be working with the town manager more rather than the director on the day. I mean, that's really where
absolutely agree
that
with that,
relationship should come in that case, right?
That's what you get with an appointed board. You don't get that necessarily with an elected board.
Well, but they're in a different, but now but now you're not on as much of a peer level, right? If you're advising and you're on the outside. I'm just throwing the other side of the conversation.
So let me just throw this out,
Yeah.
that from my perspective, we had Jim, I think, Jim Duggan, town administrator, in early. I think he attended, and participated in a couple of
Yeah.
meetings early, well before we started to go through what became our, detailed review
Yeah.
of boards and committees. He's not returned. We've now changed a number, but we still have some that are not, I think, in sync with where the select board asked us with regard to MOUs. Do we want to consider
So
asking?
go back to that. What do you think is not in sync with, what did they ask us for the MOUs from your standpoint?
Get rid of them.
Okay, so where are we not getting rid of MOUs? Everybody reports directly to the town manager now.
Okay, but I'm more drawing, I see it in terms of, yes, we've got that, but I agree with Kyle. I think there's still conflict, but you make a good point in detail, and Karen makes the same point.
Yep.
I'm just throwing out, might we benefit from having Jim return with regard to, okay, so we're not budging, my words, not yours, because you would say we have budged. I think we haven't. But I don't need to belabor this. I'm just wondering,
I
do
don't
we
want to
do
blame
we
it, but I
want?
think this is a really important conversation, and I wanted to come back after this point and have this conversation again, because I mean, I have different views about it now. But I can just, there's a couple things with me, because I know there's things in town with Park and Rec and Board of Health. And I just want us to set it up the way we want it to be set up and not do it based on current personalities, because that just
Yeah.
doesn't feel right. That's the only thing to me. I want to make sure we're doing it because this is the right structure and not because right now the people are in place, it's not working.
Okay,
Well,
but
even-
I don't know these people, so I'm not basing my
okay,
opinion
I
on
don't know.
And
personality.
anybody, anyway,
But-
that was
but-
elected into a position that we would, in the transition documents.
Oh, they
that
stay.
They would stay
Yeah, yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
So you're talking about changes that wouldn't take effect for
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 years
Can I
anyway.
add two things? So I think the conflict is good. You want the check and balance, you want the discussion. You don't want it all to just go through and suddenly we have pools and dog parks and now we're, the taxes are going up and no one can figure out why. But look, we're doing all these good things. I think that's part of the process and it's supposed to be conflict, not fighting and arguing and whatever, but like, how come we can't do this? Why not?
Yeah.
Why are someone else? So
That's
and then
one.
the other piece is, I don't think we want to take away every elected element, especially for big organizations like Park and Rec, things like Board of Health, where you want community involvement, hopefully more than we have now. But give people the opportunity to have a say in it, as opposed to, I elected these 5 people and now they're going to do everything else. Have that community voice and input for what it's worth, for the 1 or 2 people that run for these things, but I don't think
I mean, that was
should go-
part of my thought too, even with the Board of Health, and maybe Park and Rec, maybe they go to the hybrid too, but it's just another option. It's just that, I mean, some people would like to see the charter come in and we just get rid of all that stuff, and a lot of towns have very few elected positions. I mean, they do, everything's appointed. But I don't think if I were not on this committee and I was sitting out there and they were saying, all of a sudden, all these people, they're all going to be appointed now rather than elected. I don't know, it just seems like we could transition somehow. Because again, if instead of waiting 20 years, we wait 8 or 10 years to do this again, I mean, that's not that long. I mean, in some respects, right? So is there something you do in between, Because I know Park and Rec, I mean, there would be some good if there was some more balance on there. For the Board of Health, one of the other things that I heard, one rationale for having it appointed, or not, having it elected, not just appointed, is that there are times where, that they have to make hard calls on people. And so you want the town manager saying, well, those guys pay a lot of taxes, give them a break or something like that, As opposed, so have them, there's something to be said for being independent. I just throwing things that I've heard and going around too. So is there someplace in between?
I do,
Are these the only 2, can I just say, are these the 2 main boards that we're talking about here? Are there others? These are the 2, right?
The 2.
The other ones we're all pretty clear
Yeah,
on. These are the ones that
I
are,
think so.
I look at the Park and Rec, like Kyle said, a certain expertise has to be there. Well, the expertise is in the director, the assistant director, and the people they hire to do the yachting, the boating, the whatever. If they're not gonna be elected, I don't see any advantage to even having it appointed.
You mean-
Because the duties of the commissioners of the Park and Rec are delineated in our bylaws. And you appoint them and they still have policy making. Well, they're not really making policy because the town manager's gonna really be the guy that is setting up the policy. So it's, I can go either way, but
Yep.
it just seems to me that that if they're not gonna be elected, we really don't need them. Because the only thing we've talked about that Park and Rec commissioners do is provide the public input.
I think they're involved in the day-to-day stuff now because they're managing, I mean, they're more, but we
I
said that
know-
they're not
I
supposed
know
to be.
they are,
That's
but
the
they-
problem, right? Yeah.
But
or-
that's gonna set,
Right,
that
right.
just sets the
Right,
director
right,
up
that's
for
exactly, yeah.
failure,
I agree.
like Kyle says.
But if you frame it as you either get completely deleted or you get appointed, it does, when you have three
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah,
options,
yeah.
it suddenly the appointed feels a lot lighter. I mean, I just noticed, they're not on
Yeah, yeah.
the list of.
Right. I just went looking for that too, yeah.
Yeah, of,
So
you
MGL
have to
doesn't
have
say you have
them,
a right.
technically you don't need a board.
That's just another way to go.
Does Park and Rec have one of those slush funds where they have their own money that they can do stuff with?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
$1,000,000.
Well,
Enterprise.
it's not endowments or not
It's,
like trust funds, but
Enterprise
funds,
right.
Well, they
They generate
Enterprise
funds.
generate funds through their programs.
Yeah.
And that comes in, helps with our budget, so.
That's the department that deals with that, though.
so,
Isn't,
Joe, I just want to see, Joe, are you on? Do you want to speak on to this at all?
What are you thinking, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm on, but I can't see you guys. All I have is a screen of,
Oh, you see
What we
Karen's
talked about
Excel
before.
spreadsheet.
I don't see us trying to.
okay,
do
there you are.
I-
I believe where Rob is coming from, I understand that completely, but I really like what Karen says. There's a sense out there that people want to have a feeling of they still have some say in where they vote. And I think it's a great, the way we have it right now is a great check and balance. You have the management part that's still taking place, and you have the elected officials that can still set policy. But, I'm in favor of having those two boards remain the way it is.
Totally elected, or do you like the hybrid model?
Well, hybrid for the
Yeah,
Board of Health,
The
that'd be
advantage
the-
for Park and Rec, it seems to me, if they went to a hybrid, at least you'd have a couple of people who maybe are budget conscious and somewhat tied in with the town, have a little bit more of that
Yeah.
connection anyway on the committee to have a balance. But just a thought. And also, if in fact, 10 years from now when we do this, you want to go to completely appointed, you've kind of gone a hybrid, you
Go
kind of
one
get a
way.
feel for
Yeah.
how's it working, what's not working, and so on. Just,
Or go
I
back.
have no idea whether that really play out that way or not, but it feels like an option to move in.
I think one of the things that keeps coming up is sort of in my mind is like there's the change that we think is the right, like maybe
Yeah.
what the right thing to do
Yeah.
is, and how much change do we think people will tolerate as well, right? Or how much people will be comfortable with. And I sort of find myself struggling with like, where is that balance between, saying these are all the things that maybe I could get behind, but if it then means that ultimately nothing changes because we can't get anybody to have any consensus around the charter, it's all for naught. So should we be overly, I guess, I say ambitious, but should we push a little harder in our first version to the select board and kind of review, knowing that we might have to pull back? In which case we say, okay, well, our preliminary recommendation is we really did feel quite strongly that maybe Board of Health and Parks and Rec should be fully appointed, acknowledging that maybe that's an area where we might need, with feedback, maybe to pull back because of some of the.
So in that regard, I'd throw that out as I think we're going to discuss and have another joint meeting with the select board. I know I don't think I asked the question, but one select board member went way out their way to say, no, stop. You give us your best perspective. It's not your job to figure out what can get approved in town meeting, but that's 1 out of 5. But I just throw out, maybe that's good discussion to ask them. If we're struggling with something, do you want us to be bold and should we disregard what can pass through town meeting? Because you take that as your responsibility, as opposed to us, our responsibility is give you what we think best serves, fulfillment of town
So I have a
government.
comment on that, but I'm gonna hear from Tim first.
Well, I mean, some of the board members have been here over the past few months, and I think to Charlotte's point, they're going to push back hard on lots of what we're proposing. So to not sort of stake out that strong position, you've already given ground if you're looking to make it more palatable to all involved.
Yeah.
You might as well kind of reach for that, especially with a strong town manager. I mean, lots of boards talk a great game, empower the manager, and then when it comes down to it, they really don't want that,
Yeah, I mean,
My only, go ahead, do you want to say something, Con? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, when I think about what we're tasked to do here, I come back to the charge of the charge is not to come with what you think is most palatable to the town. It's what do you think is right based on, the studies that we've had with the Collins Center. So that's what, I mean, I know that a lot of this is unpopular. I mean, we've had people in here that tell us it's unpopular, but I think the charge is to do what we think is right, regardless of what we maybe know will be unpopular. And then, like you're saying, let the select board put us where we need to
beat
be.
us back, yeah.
That's just,
The only thing for me, when we, because I go through the same thing, I like, if this were just a textbook thing, this is how I would vote. And I think, again, if I weren't on this committee, and if I were just sitting in a town meeting, listening to stuff, I'm like, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not voting for that. And that's how I'm thinking. So that's kind of, so does that mean that I'm not going where I want to be? Or is that saying, well, yeah, but,
yes, I mean, it's certainly an internal conflict at times.
yeah. So I'm,
A lot of it comes down to trust, right? Because you're saying, do you trust the system to, like, if I elect a select board that's then responsible for appointing the Board of Parks and Rec, do I trust that the people that I elect will make that decision? It's a sort of diffusing my voting accountability, I guess, and I think that's where, individuals end up, feeling very strongly the way about that, but I would have similar feelings, but I would have to remind myself, okay, but I still elect the select board, still have the ability to the executive decision-making authority in town, and instead of just like one mayor, we get 5 individuals to make these decisions.
I also like hearing the idea that some conflict is not bad. To have somebody else saying, yeah, but we should do this, we should do, you say, yeah, I disagree, and that's, that's part of the process too. I mean, we all work in places where you've got strategic people telling you one thing, and you got your operational people saying, no, this is what we're gonna do, right?
But I come back to that initial point though, elected or appointed, a board is still going to operate somewhat independently, so you would still hopefully have that healthy conflict that Karen talked about, that healthy tension between
They're
a
appointed,
board.
if they're appointed by
You
the
would-
TM, though.
should have a,
Yeah.
but you're appointing hopefully smart, informed people
Yeah,
that aren't
right,
just
I
gonna
know.
like
That's the other thing.
kowtow down and say like,
Remember, none
that
of the
they're
boards
gonna.
are appointed by the TM.
Gonna
all the
try.
boards are-
See, but that's a good
So-
point
But
to
that's
say,
another
to
thing to
flip
say,
them
too.
from elected to appointed. Because that minimizes, you're still getting your independent perspective
Right.
from your appointed board or
By
committee.
the select board,
So
not by
I'm
the
in
TM.
agreement.
But then balance with community.
Yeah,
I mean, we're trying to
some of
build
that.
more community engagement. If you suddenly take away, and by the way, the only person you're voting for is the town clerk and the moderator. Where's the,
Well, but statistically, do we have community engagement?
that's a different issue. But I know that they're now working on that to try and build it and improve it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still, I think 1.2 was the electoral competitiveness.
Well, even outside of that competitiveness, if we just look at the percentage of the town that shows up to town
Shows up
meeting
to-
to vote,
Yeah.
I think this is a problem that's across
Yeah.
the country, not just Littleton.
No,
to
definitely
be,
not.
To be fair.
Disengaged,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. You want to mull on this, and then next time we actually have a definitive, this is where we want to go with this, or are you guys, you want to do it now?
May I ask a question?
Sure?
So, is the goal to get consensus? Because
Among
I
the
don't
board?
know that we'll all all like come to
Right.
one consensus on
Right.
this.
Well, I don't think we're gonna, on this one, but probably several of them won't.
I don't think I can come to a consensus in my own head.
Yeah, I know, right.
No,
I'd like,
We've heard all
Yeah,
sorts
it's
of opinions tonight, and I think we probably should take a break and think about what we individually want to do. But we do need to nail this one down at some point.
yeah.
Soon, yeah.
Soon, right.
So I agree with Alan in that, and I also, to Kyle's point as well, I'd like to take a vote on these two, because I know that I want my position to stand in terms of just be declared and not have it be felt like we were going this way, that sort of
Oh,
thing.
no, I realize it's just a matter of we want to do it now, and we could.
No, I'm very open
Okay.
to mull it over. I'm not trying to suggest that. I'm just saying at some point in
Yeah,
time.
we
Vote
need to-
next-
I'd like to
next
put first,
meeting.
I
I'll have a
wanna
rec-
take some-
on the record.
Let's
Vote
do
next
another
meeting.
round of mulling and then get to,
I mean, we can have Jim Duggan back in again, but I can tell you what he's gonna say. He wants everybody to report directly to him. So, I mean, we can have him come in and say it, but that's what he's gonna say. And he'll tell you all the reasons why,
But
if he does it, it's
But
not,
no.
I mean, what,
but I could tell
and
you
if
all
I
the
were him, I
reasons
would want it
why.
that way too.
You don't have to bring him in.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
We all do that.
But I don't know that we have discussed the reasons why. I think we've been very polite with regard to different boards and committees. I don't think we've discussed much of how they've operated in the last several years.
Yeah.
And that is part of where, and I haven't said much about it.
But do we need to discuss that? Or do we need to look forward and say?
Well, if you're not familiar with what's going on, it points to some of the conflict that seemingly is just, we're gonna continue down this path, and therefore the same conflict that has been around here for several years is going to continue for the next 8 to 10.
But just on the, report, like, what he would say, I feel like it seems like, at least I have much more clarity for myself around department heads reporting to the town manager or town administrator. That seems like done and dusted. I think the place where, as a committee, and maybe I can speak for myself as an individual, conflicted as to where to weigh appointed versus elected. And I don't, it's a sort of a weighting of the pros and cons on either side. Not that there's, for me at least, doesn't seem like there's a clear cut, definitely this or definitely that. It's where's that right, where does it come out in the wash, which factors way more heavily than the others. Conflict and tension, accountability, community engagement, efficiency, you're like,
Yin and yang all over the place.
yeah, and I feel like, it's just a more complex thing
In my
to.
mind, I start on the elected versus appointed. The default is elected, and then what's a reason not to have it elected? That's sort of where I start from. And then where do you want to back it down?
That's where the town has been, for sure. Everything was pretty much elected, and then
Right.
where we come back from there, yeah. Which one does this not make sense anymore, for sure? Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we are okay then with deferring that? But we will vote, take a vote, official vote at some, probably at the next one. So the next meeting is February 2nd. That is a Monday.
Can I?
Yep.
make a-
Absolutely.
So I think about what we're doing here is change, to some extent. I think we're responsible for successfully teeing up change management for the town. I think we just, it's not our task just to throw out a bunch of stuff and not hold meetings, and that would be irresponsible if we didn't. I was going to ask, I see on our work plan that meeting with the select board is slated for March. So they're a big constituent here. We're operating at their behest. And should we meet with the select board before our open forum, or when? Yeah, so that's just a question. Do you know, is the select board comfortable I know Mark shows up?
Yep.
And Karen, is it?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
They're not that, I don't think, Mark knows what's going on. I mean, he's paying
Right.
attention. I'm not sure, other ones, bits and pieces of it, depending on,
Right.
but the sense I get, right? Of where we're doing. Sometimes I'm surprised when I talk to him, I said, oh, no, that's not it at all, so.
Right.
But, okay, I can just tell you, though, even from our meetings, so the meetings we have in February, just from a practical standpoint, we have February 2nd, which is a Monday, and the next one is a Tuesday, February 10th, because of the holidays again and the vacation. So, and the select board members aren't available on the 10th, okay? And this Collins won't be here on the 10th either, so this Tuesday doesn't work for the other groups. So, if you said you want to have the select board come here, well, we'd have to go to them, I guess, that would be the thing, is what you're saying. But
I think we need to go to them. I mean,
yeah, we need to
they're
go to
doing
them.
Wednesday, every Wednesday now, and then including full day
budget's
Saturday
right.
and February 7th is
Yeah,
just
they're-
flat
they're
out
flat
budget.
out.
So that's in addition to their select board meetings they've got Monday, Wednesday until February 7th when they,
Okay, so we need to wait till after that anyway, to get their attention, really.
yeah, just to, I know we wouldn't get them, or can't imagine we'd get them
It is a good
before
point.
then.
But there's also a part of me that says, I mean, we're supposed to be independent too, and do our work and come up with what we think it's supposed to be, not necessarily what do you want us to say, right?
No, I was only
Okay.
asking about the specific aspect of, do you want us to be considering whether we think it's gonna make it through
Right.
town
In
meeting
different
or
way, yeah.
not?
And I've heard different. I've
That to
had-
me is my
Yeah,
specific
yeah. And I've
question
heard that
for
from other
them.
people too, and Jim says the same thing, says, don't do that, put what you think it is, and then it's up to the select board to work it or not, and what they want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, then I
Yeah.
counter that with myself, though.
I'm not looking to
Yeah.
revisit the discussion where they said they want the police chief and the fire chief to continue to report to them.
Mm-hmm.
I heard 3, if not 4 of them say that to us, and we
Yeah.
came to a different decision.
Right.
I just don't want any I don't want get down the road and have surprises popping up and stuff like that. So, anyway, it's
Yeah.
on our work plan, and I think giving them an update, and, yeah, so it's not necessarily asking them what we should be doing or not. That's not what we would be doing. It would be more, do you have questions about what we're doing?
Right.
Do you have concerns about our direction? Do you know what we're doing? Do you have questions about what we're doing?
Okay, so I guess what we could do is, I could see if I can get on a Monday meeting in February and just give them these basics, this is where we are in some of these hot topics.
That's exactly what you should do.
Okay, all right.
And maybe, because I know that sometimes, like I had, informal chat, for instance,
Yeah.
to say like, and answered a few questions, but I think it would be nice to go kind of on record. I like the idea of presenting
All right.
something, because also presenting something at the select board meeting is another way for us to
Get it out to the
share
public,
to the public as well.
Yeah.
Would we have Jim join that meeting, possibly?
With the select board?
Well, he's there at every
He
meeting.
is?
He's there.
Okay.
He has to
He's
be
always
there.
there, right?
Got it. I didn't know okay, that would be a select board meeting.
Yes.
Okay,
And we
got
can
it.
present, yeah.
All right, let me see if I can get on. Because it wouldn't even take a lot of time from my standpoint, just to let them know, and then they can think about it and talk about it, and they can let us know right there if they want, otherwise they can do it. But,
And you
okay.
can tee it up for them ahead of time, saying, we're gonna come with this
This is what we're
request
gonna
of
do.
you.
Right, yeah. I'm sure you will. We'll do it, yeah.
Well, no, I
know,
encourage
know,
you,
I know,
I'm
I
not
know.
trying to.
No, I know. I just know you're out there talking to people, which is good. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Anything else? Let's
I
do
have
anything
one
else?
question
Yeah, please, yeah.
about the updated draft. Would you like me to upload the latest draft to the Charter Committee website? Or do you want to wait?
I would say probably wait till we get to a baseline and get all the
Okay.
tracking out of there
Okay.
and so on, but thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then around, aside from the newsletter for the open house, do you want me to post on some of the town Facebook groups or any other things to get it out, or just leave it in the newsletter?
No, anything-
No,
anything
please
you
do
can.
that,
Okay.
because I have apparently missed the newsletter deadline, and I'm gonna say, please, 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 please try and get that in.
The library newsletter
Oh.
gets quite a bit of reach, so if you can get it onto that one. I found for a different thing we were advertising, like a lot of people saw it through the library newsletter.
Can we
When you
put
call to
something up on the
cancel the
bulletin
room.
board in the library?
Yeah, Karen, do you have physical printouts that we can somehow pick up from you and just, or do you want to just send the PDF?
I can
or
get them,
something?
yeah.
Sure
or I
did
can
that for
share
you
the
last,
PDF.
somebody did that for you
Yeah,
last
yeah,
time,
Is
we
right?
already-
is there already like a flyer that we've already made?
Yeah.
Making
Oh,
a flyer,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I can print it out.
Yeah, yeah, and then because we can put them in the various spots around town.
Excellent. All right.
Madam Chair, I have a motion. Move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, everybody. Good night, Littleton.